And with that, Jim Paxson, Bulls, Cavs, 11 years, two-time All-Star, is now joining us live, many playoff appearances. And I want to get right to it. First of all, Jim, thanks for taking time. I want to ask you about Bill Walton. So you played for the Blazers and the Celtics, and I covered the Blazers for years. And I thought Bill was almost perfect for Portland. He was a little bit quirky, a little bit grainy, a little bit ethereal, loved his basketball, but he fit Portland. If they could have ever had a star, it's Bill Walton in Portland. And when you think of the late Bill Walton, in his prime, in the videos and the discussion, at his best, how good was he?
Well, he has to be one of the best all-time centers ever. Obviously, his injuries cut him short from having that legacy be even more. But for our paths actually crossed. My rookie year was the year he went to San Diego, and there was compensation, and Kermit Washington came to the Blazers. But then when I was traded to Boston, he was still practicing. And I still remember one time making a backdoor cut, and I didn't even see the ball, and it just hit me in my hands. And he just had a gift, a vision. Jokic before his time, he just was a great player. And then I watched him before getting there because Johnny Davis was on that championship team who played at Dayton and that I played with. So Bill was he was just a great player, but also a generous, kind man.
You lived with him for a summer after retirement, did you not?
It was actually before retirement, and because I had gotten to know him, my kids were living down in San Diego with their mom, and I spent the summer there. And it was just a great experience. I remember one time my kids spent the night, his kids were there, and they all ended up sleeping in the teepee that he had in his backyard. And he just opened his house up to me. How Bill showed himself in the media later on in his career, that's how he was every day. He was just so open and just a generous man.
Jim, it's interesting that Bill was such a unique personality. And because he was great, if a player is great, you can just accept their quirks. But Bill saw the world differently. He was anti-war, very political. And I wonder if it's revisionist history. Did he ever get pushback from players, or did everybody always just initially accept Bill?
My experience was they accepted him. I know in Portland, and he actually, when he came back to Portland in 2009, 2010, apologized for how he handled himself back then. But the injuries, and when you're a young player, injuries can impact how you view the world. And I think as he went through his life, he viewed the world differently and from a different perspective and was a lot more grateful. But as far as my relationship and playing against him and being around him, players always accepted Bill and loved having him around.
Yeah. You had so many notable teammates, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Ainge. I was talking earlier, I said Jayson Tatum is in year 7, but he's played 108 playoff games. So those are hard minutes. So he's played 8 seasons, and he plays every night, and he plays hard on both ends. So this is not a guy that rests on the defensive end or does load management. And Boston's a pressure cooker. And I said it's unfair, but there is a standard with the Yankees, with the Lakers. I was saying this earlier, Jim. The Lakers' best starting 5 all time, Shaq and Wilt would come off the bench. I mean, that's the Lakers standard. And the Celtics, similarly, Russell, Casey Jones, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Bob Cousy. John Havlicek, people forget. And I don't criticize Tatum, but I have said over and over, the standard's different in Boston. You do have to win rings in Boston. Jeter is the standard in New York. And how do you view Tatum as a player, a pressure player, a big stage player, and a player overall?
I look at Jayson as that he has all the tools. He guards. He's able to score with the ball. He helps his teammates. But you said it, Colin. He needs to win some championships to really put his stamp on it. But he's a top 5, 6 player in the league today.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like their whole team does, they rely a lot on the 3-point shot.
Yes.
But when he's aggressive and gets to the foul line, gets to the basket, their team's better for it. So what he's done without winning a championship at his age is incredible. And I think he will win some championships with this current Celtic team that they've put together.
So do I. You know, Jim, it's fascinating. So I saw footage. Jokic goes in the second round. I saw European footage of Luka. And I will admit, I'm like, he's kind of plump. He's not really vertical. I'm like, okay, I guess he'll be great. Most of the great players that I watched growing up, 70s, 80s, 90s, there was a dynamic athleticism. There was a vertical nature. With many of the European, I could argue the two best players in the world now are Jokic and Luka, and they're different. They come in very skilled, almost more mature and focused. So when you scout, you've worked pro personnel for the Bulls for years, have you altered the way you view players as the league has become more European? How has it been challenging for you?
Well, what you mentioned was the first tape I saw on Luka. I saw some of the same things, but the first game I watched him in the NBA, he just jumped out with his ability, and that he's kind of been able to do it even better now. Is he kind of controls the game from the beginning to the end. He knows where he's going to pass the ball. But I heard a story his rookie year in training camp. He came down the first or second day and took a long three and missed. And Coach Carlisle said to him, "You may have been able to do that in EuroLeague. You can't do that now." And he came down the next time, took the same shot and made it. And that's just his makeup. He just has that it factor. And he sees the play like Jokic, 2 passes ahead. And I do consider them the two best players in the NBA right now. So to your question about how do you evaluate, when you really see players early in their career, players that have great vision, great feel, and have ability to manage the game with the ball the way those two do can dominate and give yourself a chance to win championships.
The Ant Edwards is really fun to watch. And I do think, I said about 2 months ago, I said, I think Wemby and Ant could be the face of the league after the trade deadline next year. They both need some growth. Wemby needs a better teammate or two, and Ant just has to refine his game. So Ant, like most domestic players, plays like a year of college, comes in, he's raw. You're watching him develop. He's super athletic. When you watch Ant, what do you like, and what does he have to work on, Jim?
What I like about is his energy and effort that he brings every night. That's real, and when he has his game going, it rubs off on all his teammates. I think, and last night where he evolved was when they were coming at him in double teams, he got rid of the ball a little bit quicker.
Yep.
Sometimes he tries to do too much with the ball. And I thought when he did get to the rim, he'll learn to get more fouls. He should be a 10-plus free throw a game player based on his physical tools. But he's just learning how to play, Colin. He's just scratching the surface, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch him develop. And he's not afraid, and that's a key ingredient to reaching that franchise level player.
The quality of play, I believe, is the best it's ever been in the NBA. Are there challenges as a personnel guy on mixing the domestic player who has very, often has athleticism but needs skill, and the European player that comes in highly skilled? Does it make your job easier, more difficult? It feels like you're literally having two basketball worlds, Jim. And the NBA is the meeting place, and they're melting into each other. Is that good? Is it harder? Is it easier? How did it affect personnel for you?
I think it's good for the league, but I think in today's game, it's just hard to build championship-type teams. There's so many factors that go into it. So the blend of American players and foreign players, that's going to continue to happen, and how you put teams together. But I think you need a mix. But it's just hard to build championship teams today under the financial constraints. I live in Phoenix. I go to a lot of Suns games.
Yeah.
they've got 5 players under contract for next year. Combined are going to make $209 million. And how do you build and make that team better? So there's challenges every day. So it's not just about the international impact and putting them with current American players, but it's just how do you build a team that can sustain and go for championships year in and year out.
Is it hard sometimes in a market like a Boston or a Chicago, Philadelphia? These are loud markets, talk radio, columns. People want to win now. Like the West Coast, LA is a big city, but it's a little chill compared to Philly, Boston, Chicago, Detroit. When you're building the big market team, so Phoenix is a smaller market, not a lot of Fortune 500 companies. A lot of people are from other parts of the country, so you can kind of slow build if you want. Are there sometimes Philadelphia's got cap space, Embiid, loud media? Did that ever affect you? Also, there's the shadow of MJ having been there and built the great teams of all time. Is it harder sometimes? Does market size matter not only for players, but executives? Do you feel rushed sometimes in these big, loud sports meccas?
Definitely. I think you can feel rushed. And, Boston this year, they've made the finals, but if they don't win it this year, there's going to be a lot of talk about that. And in Chicago, I think, we're at a place right now where everything's on the table to kind of see what we can do to get out of the play-in scenario and move up in the East. But it's going to be challenging. So there's definitely more pressure. I would say, though, in LA, based on the Lakers' history, is that even though it's more chill, there's pressure, especially with LeBron being a free agent this summer, LeBron's in it now to win. And so there's pressure on the Laker ownership and management to put a team around him that can go win.
Jim Paxson, what an absolute pleasure. I love going down memory lane with the Bill Walton and your kids staying with his kids in the teepee in the backyard in San Diego. That is so fitting and so perfect. A pleasure to finally talk to you, and thanks for coming on The Herd.
Enjoyed it, Colin. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from The Herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.